The forbidden truth about toxic relationships? Your ex knew exactly what they were doing to you. I'm Zeus, and I've watched brilliant CEOs, doctors, lawyers crawl back to people who treat them like dirt for thousands of years. And what I'm about to reveal will make you sick, because the person who destroyed you, they used the same playbook that's been destroying humans since the beginning of time. Right now, someone watching this is texting their toxic ex. Someone else is making excuses for why their partner doesn't mean it. In the next 13 minutes, I'm going to show you the psychological manipulation tactics that are so effective they work even when you know what they're doing. This is going to hurt, but you came here for the truth, didn't you?
Right now, there's someone watching this who knows their relationship is toxic, but they can't leave. Sound familiar? I'm Zeus. I've literally watched this same story play out for 5,000 years. Cleopatra, the most powerful woman in the ancient world, kept running back to Mark Antony, a man who publicly humiliated her. Napoleon, who conquered Europe, became a pathetic mess every time Josephine ignored him. But here's what's amusing to me. You humans think you're so evolved. You have therapy, self-help books, dating apps. Yet right now, millions of you are checking your phones, hoping for a text from someone who makes you feel like garbage. Oh, the irony. The same CEOs who fired people without blinking become anxious children when their toxic partner doesn't reply. Surgeons who hold people's lives in their hands can't handle 24 hours without validation from someone who treats them poorly. And you know what makes me laugh? You call it love. You romanticize it, make movies about it, write songs about it. But what you're really addicted to is psychological warfare. The fascinating part is the person who's destroying you right now isn't even that clever. They're just using the same manipulation patterns that have been working on humans since I've been watching. But here's what none of your therapists will tell you because it's too uncomfortable, too forbidden.
Your brain responds to toxic relationships in patterns similar to addiction. Let me explain something that will clarify everything for you. When someone treats you well consistently, your brain settles into a calm, predictable state. It's pleasant, but not particularly exciting. But when someone gives you incredible highs, then pulls away, gives you attention, then ignores you, your brain releases the same reward chemicals as winning at a slot machine. And here's the concerning part. The more unpredictable they are, the more psychologically engaging they become. Your brain starts thinking, if I can just figure out the pattern, if I can just say the right thing, do the right thing, they'll love me consistently. But here's what's truly disturbing. Toxic people often recognize this vulnerability, whether consciously or not. They can sense who will chase, who will stay, who will accept inconsistent treatment and rationalize it. I've watched this pattern for thousands of years. The most successful people, the ones who solve complex problems at work, can become completely irrational in toxic relationships. Why? Because your logical mind struggles to function when you're seeking validation from someone who withholds it strategically. And here's what might anger you. Right now, they're probably treating someone else with the consistency you desperately wanted. Because it's not that they can't be reliable, they choose not to be with certain people. The person who has commitment issues with you might be making future plans with someone else. The person who needs space from you could be giving their full attention to another person right now. But understanding this pattern is actually your path to freedom. Because once you recognize the game, you can choose not to play. And that's where this gets interesting.
I'm watching this epidemic unfold in your modern world. Successful entrepreneurs who built companies from nothing, yet they check their phone every 5 minutes, waiting for a text from someone who treats them like an option. Lawyers who dominate courtrooms become anxious wrecks when their partner doesn't respond to their messages. The pattern is always the same. It starts with what you call love bombing, excessive attention, future planning, soulmate declarations. Your brain floods with attachment chemicals. You think, finally, someone who appreciates my worth. But I've seen this script 1,000 times. Within months, the person who couldn't live without you begins creating distance. They become critical, less available, emotionally unpredictable. Your brain, now chemically dependent on their validation, goes into panic mode. Here's what most people don't realize. This shift isn't personal. It's not about your inadequacies or their sudden change of heart. It's about psychological control. Once they've established themselves as your primary source of validation, the manipulation can begin. I observe people defending partners who undermine their confidence, isolate them from friends, and create dramatic scenes that somehow always result in the victim apologizing. They use phrases like relationship work and nobody's perfect to rationalize behavior they would never accept from a stranger. The most heartbreaking part? These same people often have exceptional intuition in every other area of life. They can detect lies from business partners, spot manipulation in friendships, and make brilliant strategic decisions. But when romantic attachment is involved, their rational mind goes offline. But the most shocking part is, why do the most empathetic, successful people fall hardest for this pattern? Because toxic people are expert hunters. They don't target the obviously vulnerable. They target people with resources, emotional, financial, or social resources they can exploit. Your empathy becomes a weapon against you. Your success becomes proof that you should be able to fix this relationship.
Here's the terrifying truth that relationship experts won't tell you. Toxic relationships feel more real than healthy ones because they mirror your earliest attachment experiences. If you grew up with inconsistent caregivers, parents who are sometimes loving, sometimes cold, sometimes present, sometimes absent, then unpredictable love feels familiar. Your nervous system recognizes the pattern and mistakes familiarity for compatibility. Healthy relationships can actually feel boring to people with this wiring. Consistent kindness, reliable communication, emotional stability, these things don't trigger the intensity you associate with true love. I've watched this play out for millennia. The person who treats you well gets labeled as too nice or lacking passion. Meanwhile, the person who keeps you guessing, who makes you work for their attention, who creates chaos and then rescues you from it, they feel like destiny.
But here's what your brain doesn't tell you. Intensity is not intimacy. Drama is not passion. Anxiety is not excitement. You've been conditioned to confuse these states because your earliest template for love included unpredictability and emotional chaos. The most successful people often have the deepest version of this wound. They learned early that love must be earned through achievement, perfection, or emotional management of others. So when someone makes their love conditional and unpredictable, it feels like home. And here's the cruelest irony. The harder you work for inconsistent love, the more valuable it feels. Your brain tricks you into believing that anything requiring this much effort must be worth it. This is why people stay in relationships where they're giving 90% and receiving 10%. The scarcity makes those moments of affection feel like winning the lottery. But there's an even darker truth behind all of this.
The forbidden truth that society refuses to acknowledge is this: many people are more addicted to the pursuit of love than to love itself. They're addicted to the chase, the conquest, the fantasy of finally being chosen by someone who seems just out of reach. Toxic relationships provide endless pursuit. There's always another mountain to climb, another version of yourself to become, another way to prove your worth. Healthy relationships offer something far more terrifying: acceptance of who you already are. I've observed that humans often fear being truly seen more than they fear being rejected. At least rejection confirms the story you tell yourself about not being enough. But unconditional acceptance? That threatens your entire identity structure. This is why people sabotage healthy relationships, why they create drama when things are going too well, why they interpret kindness as weakness and mistake emotional unavailability for strength. The person who never makes you question your worth can't give you the high of finally earning their approval. The partner who loves you consistently can't provide the chemical rush of winning back someone who was pulling away. But here's what I see that you refuse to acknowledge. You're not healing your past trauma by recreating it with new people. You're just giving your wounds fresh places to bleed. The most successful healing happens not through finding someone who makes you work for love, but through learning to give yourself the consistent affection you're seeking from others. And this brings me to the hardest truth of all.
Most of you watching this will recognize these patterns in your past or present relationships. Some of you are in toxic situations right now, telling yourself it will get better if you just love harder, communicate clearer, or change more about yourself. But I want you to consider this. What if the relationship isn't broken? What if it's working exactly as designed? To keep you destabilized, dependent, and constantly proving your worth. Here's my challenge to you. Look at the relationships in your life: romantic, friendship, family, professional. Ask yourself, do these people celebrate your success or find ways to diminish it? Do they encourage your growth or create chaos when you start thriving? Do they take responsibility for their behavior or make you responsible for their emotions? The answers will reveal everything you need to know. Tell me in the comments, have you recognized yourself in these patterns?
What's one toxic relationship dynamic you've finally walked away from? Your story might help someone else break free. Because next week, I'm revealing something even more disturbing. The psychology behind why people choose to become toxic partners in the first place. The childhood experiences that create emotional vampires, and how to spot these patterns before they become their next victim. The truth about what creates monsters will shock you. And once you understand their psychology, you'll never be vulnerable to their games again. Until then, remember, you weren't born to be someone's project, their emotional punching bag, or their validation supplier. You were born to be loved consistently, respected deeply, and valued exactly as you are. But most humans are too terrified of their own worth to accept nothing less.